to Steeler Nation Live. Big Tiz.
Here you go.
The Steelers pulled out another exciting game Sunday as they beat the Detroit Lions 37-27. Epic game. Big O, what do you think about the game that happened Sunday?
Well, before the game, if you looked at these two teams on paper, you would think the way the Steelers have been playing lately and the way the Detroit Lions, first place in their division, were playing, you would put your money on Detroit. I'm sorry to say, if you're a gambling person, sometimes you got to go with the head, not the heart.
Yeah.
But it was on paper, but it was also played on the field where it mattered.
Exactly. One other thing before we get more into it, we're gonna start this new thing on the show today, just for this show, and we're gonna call it put a stamp on it. And when I say put a stamp on it, that's putting something out there, and you're gonna say this is what they need to win, this is the problems that they have, and they're just putting a stamp on it to say these are the things they have to get done to make it, worthwhile to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
That's right. Like Big Tiz has nothing else better to do but to add more stuff to the show to make it more entertaining, not only for you, but for me as well.
So you know what? Like Big O said, on paper, the Detroit Lions look like they were a formidable team. Hard for the Steelers to beat. The Steelers, with all the problems that they're having, they're blocking, no run game, somewhat of anemic blocking for the passing game. So you know what? On paper, it looks like they should have, really gotten killed.
Right. Now, you look at the Lions' record before coming into this game, 6-3. They're human. They've lost 3 times. Obviously, this team is beatable. But when you were playing the caliber football that we were playing, it just didn't look like it was going to add up. But a lot of things did add up.
Right.
A lot of things did add up, Big Tiz, and we're going to talk about that in a few minutes.
Well, you know what? If you look at the first half of this game, with the Steelers taking a big lead in the game, they were up at one time, I believe it was 17-3.
17-3, that's correct.
And the Detroit Lions just kept plugging along, and actually went ahead right before half.
Now that could crush any team, not only because for once you have a lead, and it's a good lead. It's a pretty good lead, 17-3, 2 touchdowns. That's a pretty good lead going into half or late in the second quarter. But maybe they got caught up in the moment. It's hard to explain.
Right.
That there was such a turnaround, but the Steelers also turned around again. Now let's get back. Let's talk a little bit about the Detroit Lions here. Now their front four, Big Tiz.
Right.
Their front in Ndamukong Suh, he's one of them, and there's 3 other number 1 picks. On that defensive line. 80% of all the plays on that defense were made from the line. Now they got a good cornerbacks. They got a great safety. Got secondary. They got a great secondary, but never hardly used because all the pressure that this defensive line would put on the opposing quarterbacks and opposing offenses. Coming into the game, the way our O-line looked and the way we've been playing, disaster written all over it. Disaster. Now, I don't know what happened. The football fairy came and sprinkled some fairy dust on the Steelers' O-line Saturday night. But let me tell you something. Ndamukong Suh, we all know him. He leads the league in fines. Far surpasses Harrison. I don't know if they were battling or whatnot, but this guy is the powerhouse. He is the anchor of that defensive line. And for him to come up with no tackles, I'm just talking about tackles here, Big Tiz. No tackles, no sacks, and no pressure on Roethlisberger, like he wasn't even in the game.
Right. That was something to see, and I give much props to the line for that day. You know what I mean? The blocking, it wasn't to this great level, but it was good enough for us to win, and they did better than past games. So that's a plus, and looks like things are starting to slowly come, and let's hope they continue on this rate.
Now let's switch over to our defensive line. We're missing 2 key players from that game, Brett Kiesel and Lamar Woodley.
Right.
Those are our prolific pass rushers, the guys who really 90% of the time come up with the big plays in the backfield and the sacks and the pressure on the quarterback. They weren't there. Now, Matthew Stafford, he's very elusive. He's not because he's like a small quarterback. It's because he's got that 3-step drop.
Right.
And he gets the ball out. Now you're probably saying, well, why can't Roethlisberger do that? Well, not to take nothing away from Detroit's offensive line, it's just that when you have a target such as Calvin Johnson,
right,
and Pettigrew, the tight end, and then you got Reggie Bush out of the backfield, it's easy to take 2 or 3 steps and get the ball off because one of them is going to be open because the defense is focusing their attention on Johnson or Pettigrew. And up on the line, the linebackers pushed up to try and get Bush.
Exactly.
So it's to play the lines. It's very, very difficult. Very difficult.
Well, and if you look at the show before this one, you'll see exactly that's what we're talking about as the keys that the Steelers needed to win, as of controlling at least Reggie Bush to force them into a passing type situation, but also we talked about doubling up on Calvin Johnson.
Exactly. And once you stop the running game, what we did, and we'll get to that later in the show about the stats, Reggie Bush was shut down.
Yeah.
We shut him down. We were forcing him to throw the ball. And because of that we lost a linebacker to come back into coverage to help out in the middle of the field. And Big Tiz will talk about that later because that's his baby. And you're gonna love this, folks, and it's gonna make a lot of sense to you when we talk about the second half. But other than that implosion or that explosion, whatever you want to call it, in the second quarter, the team played as a team.
Yeah, they did, and that's exactly what they did. They played well-balanced football, and like I said, it's the first half of the game. Well, let's put it like this: the first quarter of the game, they played pretty well-balanced football. But like we said, it has to be 60 minutes. And this game, they got away with it because they did it in spurts. Second quarter, they gave up 27 points.
Now you take any team for once, had a good lead, 17-3. They're playing Steeler football.
Right.
And getting back to, you could go back to all our shows, and what I've always said, the key to success for an offense is no huddle and a lot of play action.
Right.
First 2 series that Pittsburgh had the ball, marched down the field, no huddle. I believe Ben was 5 for 5 for 61 yards on the first drive, and with that 34-yard touchdown to Brown. Then coming back the second time we got the ball, pretty much the same thing. No huddle offense. We have to keep the defense on their toes.
Exactly.
And that opens up the game to play action. And we'll get into that later in the stats.
Well, one thing that they did that I really did like about the Steelers was that they finally got a touchdown on their first initial drive of the game.
Shocking.
Unbelievable.
Shocking.
I mean, they were having problems doing this going well into that last season.
This is true. And not only on their first drives, even coming up with a field goal.
Right.
Because we're usually turning the ball over. Ben's doing something really crazy, throwing in the triple coverage or whatever, trying to make that one play. But by doing the hurry-up offense, you're getting the defense on their heels. They're not ready to set to get the players in to defend a pass play like that.
Right.
Or with the emergence of Le'Veon Bell and his catching prowess in the backfield, now he's a double threat now. He's not a single. We don't have that single threat running back anymore. Now we have a double threat, just like Reggie Bush is. Le'Veon didn't really have that good of a game on the ground, but however, he picks that up, or he makes up for it in the catching the game, the aspect.
Exactly. Well, you know what? We want to find out from you, the fans out there, some things that. What do you think is your moment in the game that actually turned the game to where it was a big play for the Steelers, or turned it into where the Steelers can actually seal the game? Right.
Now, there's a couple things. You could starting with the special teams stepping up and stopping that fake field goal.
Right.
What were they thinking? Now, if they make this field goal, they're only down by 7 points.
Right.
Reachable. But if Pittsburgh stops this fake field goal and they score, now you're down 2 possessions.
Exactly.
So you have to blame the coaches on that one. Surprise, not at this point of the game.
Right.
It's not like the Detroit Lions had to use these magic tricks to get by us.
Well, you know what? Just watching on TV after the game as well, I seen some commentators were saying, well, the reason that they did go for the field goal was because they felt that their defense could not stop Ben Roethlisberger at that time anyway. So he figured he'd at least try to get as many points as he could. But it was a gamble that didn't pan out. So it's one of those things. If it worked, he's a genius. If he doesn't, as you can see, that's what happened. It worked in our favor, thank goodness.
But I could see going for it if there was a chance for a first down, because if you didn't score a touchdown, now you at least have a first down. You get 4 more chances to put it in there. But it was 4th and goal. like you said, Big Tiz, you make it, you're a genius. You don't, you're an idiot. So guess what? He's labeled an idiot. That's one of the things. Another thing was the opening drive TD. We just talked about that. Well, how can it be a game changer? It's the beginning of the game. How can you? Well, I'll tell you what. Playing the way we've been playing and not scoring on those drives, that is a confidence booster that this team needed, especially against a formidable defense such as the Detroit Lions, who have been coming in and just annihilating offensive line and opposing quarterbacks.
Exactly.
And not to mention, I'm going to roll in the second drive too. I think the first 2 drives, that could be a game changer right there, because now not only did you score 1 touchdown, you scored 2, and that's like almost impossible that we've been playing this season. Another thing would be when we converted at 4th down, deep in Detroit's territory. I think it was a 36-yard line, 4th and 2. We don't make that. I think Detroit picks up. Now they got the momentum.
Exactly.
But that's not the case, and I feel this. I might be leaning towards this one. Cautry's touchdown that put it ahead a two possession game now.
Right.
Now we're up by 10 points. So that was huge with 2 minutes left to go in the game, because the Detroit Lions, they were silent in the second half. Doesn't mean they could emerge with one big splash play like Calvin Johnson did in the second with that 79-yard touchdown bomb where Ike Taylor just bounced off. I'm like, I don't know.
So fans, you tell us what you think. Number A, stopping the fake field goal. B, opening drive touchdown that the Steelers made. Number 3, Will Allen's big interception late in the game. Or D, the Steelers converting a 4th down late in the game against the Detroit Lions. Or E, Cautry's touchdown to extend the lead to 10 points, 37-27, which was the actual final score. Let us know. Hit us up on Facebook, and we'll check out your answers there.
Right. Also, we haven't given out a game ball this year, and I think one is needed right now. This time, we have to give props. So we have a list of possibilities, and you guys could chime back in on Facebook, email us, how to get a hold of us, and I'm thinking. Let's see. First, let's do like the Academy Awards. First nominee would be the O-line. Now, the O-line couldn't stop anything.
Right.
Couldn't protect Ben. And for Ben not to be sacked and not to give up stupid penalties, that's pretty huge for the O-line.
Right.
So they're in the running. Roethlisberger is also in the running for the game ball. Almost 400 yards, another 4 TD performance, and you know what, folks? 0 interceptions.
Yeah, that was big.
And that's because...
Got close quite a few times, though.
Well...
I mean, not all of his fault, but...
Almost only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades there, Big Tiz. So, hey, but it didn't happen. And maybe that could be because of the O-line. I'm not trying to sway anybody. If the O-line didn't protect and block for Ben to give him time in the pocket, maybe a couple of interceptions. How about Antonio Brown? Huge day. What was it, 179 yards receiving, 2 touchdowns? We'll get back. Don't quote me on that. We'll talk about that in stats later on. The defense. Take away the second quarter.
Yeah.
Take away it never happened. All right, folks?
You take away the second quarter, this game is almost like
it's done.
0 to 37.
And the last nominee would be the coaching staff. Now, we like to say the offensive line coach, I don't know what he did with the magical fairy dust on the offensive line Saturday night, or what they put in their cornflakes Sunday morning for breakfast, don't know. And the defense, Dick LeBeau.
Right.
Now, this is why Dick LeBeau is a Hall of Fame coach, Hall of Fame player. You take a situation like the Steelers were in, up 17-3, coming into halftime. Now you're down 27-20. Now, not only does that take the wind out of your sails, that rips the sails apart.
Right.
You can't even use them anymore. In the way the season has been going with the Steelers, it is so easy to curl up in a ball and just say, you know what?
Yeah, let's just play for next year.
What else we got to play for? We tried, we were up, and they just tore us apart. But because Dick LeBeau is such a great Hall of Fame coach, he turned it around for the second half.
Yeah.
When you hold Calvin Johnson to 0 receptions, 0 yards in a whole half, 30 minutes of football.
In a whole half after a first half explosion.
Now, maybe he said, my 2 TDs and 3,000 yards, maybe that's enough for me. Maybe that's all I have in my gas tank right now. But the same guys are out there on defense. You take that guy, Dick LeBeau, the wizard that he is, and look at, you don't have a lot of time in the locker room. I think you got 15 minutes or whatnot. For him to take that, what happened to him in the second quarter, and turn that around and stop, not only did he stop Calvin Johnson, the defensive schemes, but still Reggie Bush and Pettigrew, the tight end. It's just amazing. This is why the Steelers still have, I believe, the greatest defense out there. I do believe that, Big Fish.
Like I said, there are a lot of picks right there for the game ball, and you know what? We'll soon give out our picks, who we think. I think at the end of the show, we'll let them know who we picked for each one.
Oh, that sounds great. No, we need to see what's going on the West Coast with Rudy.
You know what? We'll do that right now. We'll check out Rudy, West Coast Rudy. What's going on out there in the West Coast on Steeler Nation Live?
The palm tree still swaying there, Rudy?
From our studios out in Rochester, New York, we head out west to Southern California where the palm trees are swaying as we check out Rudy, Rude Dog Reyes, as he does his thing out there for Steeler Nation Live. Rudy, what's going on out there in the West Coast for Steeler Nation Live?
Good afternoon, Big Tiz, Big O, Rudy Rude Dog Reyes. I am here, yes, mobile. I am in my car. As you can tell, I have my Steeler bag ready to go. This is a work day for me. It's a long Thanksgiving weekend. Let's get down to business, Big Tiz, Big O. We had a fantastic comeback win at home. At home. Again, at home. This time versus the Lions, who looked great in the first half. They certainly had the work cut out for them after we led 14 to 0. Then they just stormed back. We allowed them in with secondary passes to, of course, Megatron with some lackluster tackling. Yes, I said lackluster tackling, Steeler Nation. It appears that Ike Taylor cannot grab at the legs and wanted to try to tackle him from the upper body, which didn't work out to his favor. However, with that being said, Steeler Nation, they had it wrapped up in the second half of the game with 2 interceptions, great effort on offense. Defense stepped up with third down stops. Basically had the game wrapped up by the time we hit our pinnacle in the fourth quarter. So far, so good. We are still in the hunt, Steeler Nation. We are at 4-6. However, we're 1-1 in the division. These 2 weeks are critical for us with a serious contention with the Browns as well as the Ravens on Turkey Day. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's not forget where we're at. Big Tiz, Big O. It's a work day for me. So, as you know, I have one word, and that's Pittsburgh. Here we go. Let's go get it.
Uniform Express, located on 1408 Buffalo Road, Rochester, New York, for your police, fire, or EMS supplies. One of Rochester's top and finest suppliers of shirts, pants, shoes, boots, and accessories for your professional uniform needs. Uniform Express also does embroidery and screen print for team uniforms, jerseys, and corporations. Hours are Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. You can also go to their website at www.uniformexpress.com or call Brian at 585-529-4245. That's 585-529-4245. And let Brian know you heard his ad on our show, Steeler Nation Live.
Hello, Steeler Nation, Big O.
Big Tiz.
And welcome back to Steeler Nation Live. Rudy, West Coast, everybody out there, we're glad you loved this game. And we love to hear all the input you got from out there. Don't be shy. Let us know what's going on the West Coast, because Steeler fans are everywhere. All right, sports fans, we're getting back into this part of the show. What went wrong and what went right. And we, Big Tiz, we always start off with what went wrong.
Yep.
We like to, get that out of the way and then finish on a good note. So let's think of a couple things that went wrong. Even though we did win the game, but still, 60 minutes of football, there's a portion of that 60 minutes that did not go right.
Right. Well, number one of the things was after Reggie Bush actually had a fumble that the Steelers didn't take the time to try to stop the game, to try to challenge. Because that right there in itself could have been a game changer for the Steelers as well.
Oh, absolutely. That's, right off the bat, you got their star running back fumbles the ball, you recover at home. You see where we're going at this?
Yeah, and that's one thing the Steelers defense was needing this year. Even though those turnovers are starting to come now for the Steelers, they're finally starting to come. But you know what? The Steelers of old, we used to get 3-4 turnovers a game. I mean, that's why I said that turnovers like that are huge, and that puts your team in a driving position. The Steelers need all the help they can get for their offense. So
that's right, especially playing the way the Steelers have been playing this year so far. Anything helps. Any turnover helps. Even if we do a 3-and-out, as long as we stop them from scoring, and put more time on the clock for us, control the clock.
Right.
That's good. So any little thing, fumble, interception, you don't make it, that's going to hurt the team.
What else, Big O?
Drop TD passes. You just like we alluded to seconds ago, folks. Any opportunity that you have to advance your team in the right direction, especially when you're in the end zone and you're going to score a touchdown, whether it's the first minute of the game or the last minute of the game, any touchdown that you can make, you have to. You want to be in that position where they're playing catch up and you don't.
Right,
you want
exactly.
To have that lead. Here's something that bothers me to no end. And if there's any coaches out there who want to, send me a message, Facebook me or whatnot, how in the world can you be first in goal at the 1 with all the plays you have in your playbook? You only need 4. Only need 4, maybe 5. Not sure. How can you not get that ball 1 yard? I don't understand it. I mean, it's not rocket science, okay?
Right.
When's the last time you've seen a quarterback sneak? When's the last time you've seen Roethlisberger keep it? Not once this year. So guess what, folks? I don't think they'll be expecting it.
Well, not only that, Roethlisberger, he's 6'5". I mean, all he has to do basically is lean forward, and hopefully with the help of the running backs pushing him and nudging him over the line. It should be a touchdown.
Granted, you don't want your star quarterback getting hurt on a play like that.
Right.
But when touchdowns come, far and few between, whatever that saying is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure your dads and grandparents always said it to you. But you got to do what you have to do. All right, Grant, let's hand the ball off, okay? Remember the fridge. William Perry, the fridge for Chicago? They gave him the ball. He was, 400 pounds?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think he's ever been stopped.
What was that sound?
He's knocking people all over the place. He's out of control. He's like a beer truck rolling down the hill with no brakes, out of control. Can't be stopped. Won't be stopped. That's so much for energy drinks. But anyways, get somebody. Get an offensive lineman, defensive lineman, a linebacker. Get Woodley out there. Put him in front. Let him block, and you just follow him.
Yeah, I agree. I agree totally.
There's so many things. I just don't understand how you cannot score a touchdown. It is so frustrating. And folks, I know you feel the same way. But somebody has got to tell me, explain this one to me. Sit me down and talk to me like I'm a 3-year-old. Explain this to me, because I don't see it happening. And to waste all that time and effort to get a field goal, the frustration setting in, Big Tiz. Yeah. It is setting in. I'm telling you.
Well, one of the other things is, one of the glaring other needs is, Ike Taylor continually is getting torched against big name receivers. Not all of them. He shut down the bigger name receivers for Cincinnati.
Green.
Right. And
Stevie Johnson.
Things like that. But the thing about it is, don't get me wrong, Megatron is an animal. He's a beast. But the thing about it is, at least seem like you're trying to be in the same zip code or area code as him.
Right. It's for one thing to cover a guy twice your size, and then to be out of position, try and make up ground and tackle this guy. It almost looked like Swisham was out there trying to tackle him on that 170-yard play. He bounced off of him. I mean, grab him, hold on to his leg, let somebody come over here and stop him, slow him down a little bit. Don't bounce off him.
Exactly. And as we talked about earlier about trying to get turnovers, he dropped 2 interceptions. That it could have been easy picks for him, which could have made things better for him. Having to deal with Megatron that day, but You gotta, when it comes to you gotta grab it. Right now, Pittsburgh's in desperation mode, so anything that can help them get a positive leg on something, the Steelers have to grab onto it.
Right, and another, not to be too negative about that, the 2 interceptions that he could have had, the first one he missed resulted in a touchdown by Detroit, because after that they marched down the field, and the second interception led to a field goal. So there's 10 points. I mean, that's a huge swing from getting the ball back twice and possibly scoring for your team, as opposed to giving the ball back and let them march down the field and score some points.
So that goes in. That's like going into halftime, being 20-17 instead of 20-14. Or whatever it was.
It's we're not very good, man. So any complaints, right to care of. Excuse me. It is that.
But some of the other things as well was there was too many 3-and-outs, and the Steelers had just like usual. It's like we almost get into a lull where we just go through the motions of 2 yards here, a swing pass out here for 2 yards, incomplete across the middle, punt.
And once again, it's very frustrating to see an offense that's rolling, it's doing a great job, and then switch channels, switch gears into something that's not working.
Right.
So it's very frustrating to see that on the sideline. And once again, no running game.
Yeah, the running game is still absent. Yeah, the running game is still absent, and the Steelers are desperately, if they want to be a playoff team or even a Super Bowl contender, they have to find a way to get that run game going, because they're going to be facing some teams out there that are going to be beasts coming through the line, and they have to be able to run the ball, because unless Roethlisberger is going to be a sitting duck.
Right. And also the defense, you got to show up 60 minutes. 30 minutes isn't going to cut it. 35 minutes isn't going to cut it.
Right.
Now, why say 30, 35? Because they shut them down in the second half. Well, they did play in the first half. But when you controlled the ball like we did, didn't have time for them to get on the field to really, really do anything. And when they did, it was like they weren't even on the field.
Right.
Minus that second quarter as well. But you gotta play to win, gentlemen. And Herm Edwards, he said it well many, many times. You play to win. 60 minutes, you play to win. And that's great advice, because if you play 60 minutes, you play to win. The chances of you winning are pretty good.
Exactly.
And I love listening to Tomlin, talk these conferences, especially the past 2 games that we won. It's always good to listen to a coach who's upbeat. But he got frustrated a couple times, and I'm thinking a little angry when he repeatedly asked the question that the O-line was doing so good. What did he do to switch it up?
Right.
And his responses were, they just did what they had to do.
Right. Simply. The guys are finally starting to execute their blocks. They're starting to be in position where they're supposed to be. That's all to it. I mean, these guys should be able to do it. They just have to do it.
That's right. And if you're in position and you make the tackle, nothing special. That's what you're out there getting paid for. No magic sprinkly twinkly dust that they had. It's just, like Thomas says, when you're doing your job, when you're in position to make the play, you have a better chance of making that play. And that's what Pittsburgh's been doing for the past 2 days.
Exactly. Well, Big O, you know what? We beat the Steelers over the head about things that did go wrong. And this is things that went wrong in a win. And a win by 10 points. But so let's talk about some of the positive things that make us smile here in Steeler Nation Live about things that went right in Pittsburgh.
Well, the streak continues. The last time the Lions beat the Steelers at home was, I believe, 1955. And I think Bobby Brisher was quarterbacking at the time. I don't know. it's a long time ago, folks. Long time ago. But like we alluded to earlier, we have yet to score we rarely score a touchdown in the first half of any game this season. And to score one on our opening drive,
huge.
It's huge. And how did they do that? No huddle. And folks, if you've been watching our show from right out of the gate, that I've always professed, to get this offense going, 2 things we need to do. 2 things need to happen. 1, no huddle offense. 2, play action.
Right.
And what happened, Big Tiz, when we did the no huddle on 2 drives?
Touchdowns.
Come on. It's not rocket science. Plus, you don't want to do the same thing over and over again. Because obviously, folks, they're going to catch up on it and they're going to stop it. You got to switch channels anyways. But you know what? Once in a while, throw that out there, the no huddle. get it third down play. Don't let the defense have a chance to get substitutes in, fresh legs, healthy guys ready to play. When you've been doing 3 plays and you're tired, you gotta do something. You gotta switch it up. You know what I mean?
Well, the other thing is Bell. He's now starting to become a dual threat. So now he's starting to catch these passes out of the backfield, which is in essence making him more dangerous and helping us in our passing game as well.
Right, because now you have to have somebody cover him, one of the linebackers, which opens the middle for Heath Miller. He had a pretty good day, pretty decent day. Why? Because I didn't play him. My fantasy team. Folks, if you watch our shows, you know what I'm talking about. But anyways, that opens up everything. And now with Wheaton back in action, he's another deep threat. And don't worry about Emmanuel Sanders. He had a foot injury. We'll talk about later in injury report. That just, one goes down, one steps in, and I want to see this kid get out there. And he has a lot to offer for this team. If you've seen him in training camp, because obviously he's like pretty much invisible for the whole season, this kid is our future.
Right.
He's our future. We talked about the O-line.
Yep, we talked about that earlier. The O-line, finally stepping up, had a actually decent game protecting Ben, which was great to see. And that also shows them that they could do this. I even heard one of the commentators on TV talking about how the Steelers, close to the goal line, pancaked one of the guys from last week's game. And, that's how Bell got into the end zone, which is huge. And that's what they're trying to show our line, that all they have to do is do it.
Yeah, it all stems back from Ale, accountability, leadership, and execution. You have those 3 things, folks. And guess what? Good chance you have a win.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see. We had a couple big plays ourselves. The 2 touchdowns to Brown. We had stopped that fake field goal.
That was huge.
That was huge. And not to mention our fourth and 2. That could be my pick for the game changer, because folks, if you switch momentum that late in the game and you give a team like the Detroit Lions a chance to get back in this game, take the lead, they will do it. We don't make this first down, we don't score again, and Detroit has a chance to come back and taking this game over.
Right.
The 27 points they put up in the second quarter, that's what's one more touchdown? I mean, if you could put up almost 30 in one quarter, 7 points isn't going to be that hard to do late in the game.
And the other thing about the Steelers that I was really, really happy about is that they showed no quit.
No.
They went down. They were up, winning big and all this, and they went down before half, which I thought that was going to be the gas going out of the balloon, and the Steelers would start to, continue with the 3 and outs, and then at that point we had no answer for anything that Detroit was doing. So I figured it was going to get so out of control it'd be hard to watch. But so they stuck with the game plan. They changed. They made some modifications to where they had to, and the Steelers came out on top. And a great performance by the defense, shutting down the lines to where they barely had any offensive yards in the second half. How do you go from having this huge record-setting against the Steelers first half?
Almost 400 yards
first half to almost like possibly 40, 50 yards of offense.
Yeah. So coming back after halftime, it was really, really hard decision. Do we sit and watch the rest of the game?
Right.
Or what? But you know what? I'm pretty sure all of you folks at home, you did the same thing. We did too.
Right.
I mean, you have to. There's no way you cannot. It's just like when you watch a horror movie and you cover your eyes and something's going to happen. You always look.
Exactly.
You don't want to see it. You don't want to say, and then you look. Yeah, it happens. It does. And, to be a true fan, you have to watch a game.
Exactly.
I watched the whole first half as well, and you know what? It was pretty scary.
Oh.
Pretty scary. It just, me personally, I could feel the frustration and a letdown when you're up 17-3, and all of a sudden you blink, and you're like, you went to the bathroom or you went to get a snack, refill, got another beer or whatever, and you come back and all of a sudden you're down.
Right.
By a touchdown. You were just
down
up by 2. Now
down with no possible answer.
No answers.
So I was impressed. I was impressed about the fight. I was impressed with the defensive fight. I was impressed with the offense. how they just kept going at it. They kept going at it. It was a thorough, like we said, clicking on all cylinders, and that's what they did that day. But you know what? We're gonna get some huge stats from that game, and there were a lot of numbers flying out of this game. Believe me, especially the first half.
Oh boy. Well, let's look at the Lions side of the ball here. 451 total yards in the game. Now, I'm thinking almost 400 yards were in the first half.
Pretty close.
I don't see them doing anything else in the second half as far as running the ball. We'll talk about Lions side of the ball first. Let's see, Reggie Bush, 12 carries, 31 yards, no TDs. I mean, Bell, 9 carries, 49 yards, 1 TD. That was like a garbage touchdown.
Wow. Yeah, it was late, but it helped get them ahead, late before half. But it was it was okay run. It was a short run, but the fact is, after that was it.
I think Stafford had 3 rushes for 24 yards. It almost totals the same amount of yards that Bush had. And their tight end, Pettigrew, 3 receptions, 37 yards. We shut them down. Mm-hmm. And you had we talked about this before the show, Big Tiz, and you had your theory about what happened. And tell the folks at home what your theory. And it sounds
well. A lot of it to what it was for the Steelers doing that second half shutdown in this game, which affected the numbers as you can see. Well, was Troy Polamalu. What they did was they had Troy just playing strictly safety, and they had Timmons dropping back into his middle linebacker spot. But the fact was Timmons couldn't get back far enough to cover the short intermediate routes across the middle or some of the deeper cuts around the middle. So that's why Calvin Johnson was open on a lot of plays. That's why Pettigrew was getting balls. So they remedied that by putting Timmons to the outside linebacker and switching up and putting Troy Polamalu as the middle linebacker / safety. So basically, he was playing up front like he was a linebacker, and everything in that middle was completely done. Completely done. It was amazing to watch.
Yeah, and that way Ike Taylor got some help from Will Allen in the cornerback position, and every time you saw a throw to Calvin Johnson, there's always 2 guys on him.
Right.
So that shut him down too. And I mean, as simple as it sounds, folks, I didn't pick that up. Big Tiz did. That's why he's here. That's why we're doing a show. That's why we're getting the word out to you, because Big Tiz is one smart cat. Let me tell you.
I'll tell you. I agree with what he said 100%. But it was just something to watch this, to watch how LeBeau, especially at his age, like I said, he goes from looking like he's out of control. He has nothing to do with his defense, and he makes these minor adjustments, and it's a whole different ball game.
And also, what their defense did, they did have 1 sack. I apologize. I mentioned earlier so that Roethlisberger wasn't sacked. He was sacked one. No, wait. Yes, he was. He was sacked 1 time. But here we didn't talk about this, and things went right. Penalties. We had a couple penalties and 0 turnovers.
Huge. Huge.
0. And when you're not giving the ball up and you're putting it in the end zone, hey, look at that, folks. You're going to win.
Yeah. They just have to keep up with that.
But let's talk about the Steelers side of the ball with Ben, another 4-touchdown performance. And usually when you get 4 touchdowns, that means the quarterback's throwing the ball a lot.
Right.
And when that happens, usually a couple of picks, 1 or 2 interceptions. Once again, no interceptions for Big Ben. And that stems back from the O-line, protecting him and giving him time. And also, let's not leave out the receivers running their routes, doing a good job. Other than Heath Miller dropping a touchdown in the end zone, I think we did pretty good on our side.
Oh yeah, we did. I mean, Ben got the ball out quick and fired it to receivers on nice, short, crisp patterns, which is the game plan, which I wish we'd have been doing a long time ago. Get the ball out of your hands to stop these heavy rushes. And this is exactly what they did. And they basically neutralized their whole defensive line because they couldn't get to him.
Right. And also what I was very impressed with was the yards after the catch. Now, these bombs to Brown, these touchdowns, they weren't in the end zone. Brown had to run after a considerable amount of yards after the catch to score these 2 touchdowns. So it wasn't easy. The one catch he made, the long catch, he had to break 2 tackles,
right,
and and get away from the defense. It wasn't like in the end zone catch touchdown. No, he had to work for those. And all the other catches, Brown 7 receptions, 147 yards, 2 TDs. Heath Miller 8 receptions. So now you can see when he started establishing that passing game that he's getting more involved. And because he's getting more involved, then that leaves one-on-one coverage with our receivers. So getting Wheaton back in there, he had a couple catches. But also, like we talked about earlier, Bell, 52 yards out of the backfield by catching the ball.
Right.
He had more yards catching than running, which is really not a good thing from your running back because you want him to run the ball. But now, like you said earlier, it's a dual threat. So if the running game's not working, you can always have an outlet to him. And Kotchery, the veteran, once again, another game with a TD. Didn't have a 3 TD performance. However, 3 catches, 48 yards, and 1 TD.
Right.
And that was late in the game to push us ahead to make it a 2-possession game for the Detroit Lions.
And the defense, the numbers that they put up, like we said, LeBeau in the way that he comes up with these schemes, 2 sacks, 1 interception, and 2 fumbles. Could have been more interceptions than that, to be honest, but that's what we got out of this game. And that put the Steelers into the record that they're in right now, the 4-6, and possibly right now trying to make a vibe towards the jockeying for the number 1 position in Pittsburgh.
That's true. We're number 2 in division, folks. If you woke up this morning, it was like Christmas for me. I looked at the stats just to make sure. I rubbed my eyes. Got the sand out, looked, and we are not by much. But you know what? From where we started at the beginning of this year and looking at that standings and see yourself in 2nd place, that's a good sight to see.
Right. 2nd place. Everybody at 4-6 were tied with them for 2nd. But Pittsburgh's in 2nd place because they beat Baltimore once. And Cleveland Brown has the worst record in the division. So Pittsburgh wins outright right now. That's 2nd seed.
Right. So we got Cleveland in Cleveland next Sunday. And then immediately following that Thursday, Thanksgiving, we'll be playing at Baltimore. And then the following Sunday, we'll come back and host the Miami Dolphins. But we want to get that far. We want to focus on the game in hand. We'll talk about the pregame with the Browns later in the show. But you know what, folks? It's not going to be an easy thing to do. But like Tiz says, we beat the Browns. We beat the Ravens. We're pretty much a lock-in for number 2 spot. And we all know what that means. That's a wild card. And also, we're not too far away from taking over the number 1 spot.
Exactly.
So,
well, one thing the Steelers have to contend with, too, is that they're going to have some lagging injuries going into this game with Cleveland. So we're going to talk about some of the injuries that the Steelers have right now with this big game coming up against Cleveland at Cleveland.
Right. Now, Brett Kiesel and Lamar Woodley were both out against Sunday.
Right.
So, give them another week to rest. They're looking hopeful, probable for Sunday, both of them. Also, we have Emmanuel Sanders. He's also probable. The reports coming out of Steeler camp that it was not a serious foot injury. It was happened early in the game. He had 2 attempts, 1 reception for 2 yards. It happened during the 1 catch.
Right.
So give him some time to recover. I wouldn't rush him into it unless, because we got Marcus Wheaton, and we could bump him back behind him just in case if we need him.
Right.
Shamarko Thomas, he's doubtful for Sunday with his knee injury, or was it a hamstring? Something, it was a leg injury. I can't really think about right now. But he's probable or doubtful for Sunday. And Stevenson Sylvester, hamstring. So we got a couple bumps and scrapes that we need to take care of. But nothing to throw up the panic flag. I won't be worried about it right now because we're doing good what we have. Let's get these guys rested. Let's wait for when we really need them, when the hits the fan. And it's go time. So let's rest these guys. Let's not rush it back now. We're doing pretty good, and
let's keep it going. Like I said, the Steelers have to be healthy going into this stretch right now, especially with big games looming with actually Cleveland, which is this week, and Baltimore coming up on Thanksgiving night. So, guys, it's got a lot of work has to be done in Pittsburgh. You know what, guys? We're gonna go to a commercial. When we come back, we're gonna talk a little bit about Gone But Not Forgotten, and we're gonna preview the Cleveland Brown game versus the Pittsburgh Steelers.
That's right.
Next up on Steeler Nation Live.
Time to pay some bills.
Heckle and Jekyll Sports Cards, Collectibles, and Video Games. Open 7 days a week here in Rochester, New York. Mike has all kinds of individual cards and packs. Baseball, football, basketball, hockey, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, just to name a few. Mike also has the widest variety of video games too, from Sega Genesis to Wii to PlayStation to Nintendo, Game Boy Color Advance, and so on. Mike has all the old school games you can't rent or buy anymore. Mike also has a great selection of autographed memorabilia, sports jerseys, hats, 8x10s signed by your professional athletes for you to buy. He also has video game, Yu-Gi-Oh, and poker tournaments, Beanie Babies, Bratz dolls, sports figures, and more. Mike runs the show 7 days a week. Call Mike, 585-889-9130. That's 585-889-9130. Folks, if you're not in Rochester and you're looking for that hard-to-buy memorabilia, call Mike or look him up on the web at heckjack@rochester.rr.com. Once again, folks, that's heckjack@rochester.rr.com. But if you are in Rochester, you can go down to Chile Avenue, that's 3240 in the Chile Paul Village.
SteelerNationLive.net. It's live. Join Big O, Big T every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. New Year's only in-depth analysis of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Black and gold. Game review. Injury report. Releases. Who got fired? Fantasy stats. Fantasy football. Rumor. Anything and everything you want to know about the black and gold. SteelerNationLive.net.
Welcome back, Steeler Nation Live. Big Tiz.
Big O.
Guys, you know what? We're going to talk about gone but not forgotten. And that's where we talk about those 3 ex-Steelers. You know, they left Pittsburgh and they're gone on the other teams and they're trying to do their different things. And these are guys that seems like they're still kind of struggling. But, you know, a couple of the guys had okay days, but, you know, nothing to really write home about.
Oh man, I tell you, you're all right there, Big Tiz. Try to, you know, if there's anything called sugarcoating, Big Tiz is the best. Believe you me, brother. All right, let's sugarcoat this. A couple guys did good. All right, let's hear what your thoughts are on this one. We'll give you what's going on with the trio, and you tell me if Big Tiz is right, is he wrong. All right, go ahead, Big Tiz. Let's start off with Let's start off with Mike Wallace. Okay, let's see.
Mike Wallace, he had 4 receptions for 39 yards. No touchdowns.
Now, is that the first quarter, second quarter?
I believe that was 60 minutes of the game.
60 minutes of the game.
But you know what? Like I said, the Dolphins are the ones that are really hurting in this one because they paid Mike Wallace a lot of money.
A lot of money.
And I believe maybe it's been more than one game that he probably had over 100 yards receiving. I'm not positive. Maybe 1, maybe 2.
I know. I'm pretty sure he only had 1 game over 100 yards.
Right. And that's a pretty sad penny that they paid for that, just to come out with that type of production.
Now, is he the number 1 receiver, or how is he slotted? I mean, I really.
I believe he's supposed to be their number 1 receiver, and that's the scary part.
Wow.
Yeah, that Hartline, I believe he's supposed to be their second receiver, but he more or less kind of mirrors what Mike Wallace does, but Mike Wallace is getting all the money.
I'm going to have to look into that one. All right, let's go down the list. Let's do Mr. Harrison.
Actually, Harrison had a decent day, 4 tackles, 1 interception, and almost took the interception back about 15 to 20 yards, somewhere around there, for a touchdown. I mean, and to be honest, if you watched it on TV, he caught the pass, or the interception, ran down, almost tackled by a lineman, brushed him off, because you know this dude is strong like a beast.
Yeah.
and dragged like maybe one or two guys into the end zone. I mean, it was funny to watch. Granted, it was a penalty on the play.
Maybe we could put that. Maybe we could find some footage and put that up there.
Hey, if I find it, you got it, guys.
Stumbling. Oh, I'd like to see that. And last but not least, our old good friend Richard Mendenhall. How did he do, Big Tiz?
Richard Mendenhall, like I said, he's been a project from when he was in Pittsburgh. He's a project in Arizona. This guy, 13 carries for 14 yards, but 1 touchdown.
Okay.
And I believe that was like a 1 to 2 yard plunge.
All right. Now, I'm no math whiz. They gave him the ball 13 times.
Right, exactly.
Out of those 13 times, he ran the ball 14 yards. So that would be about a 1.1 yards per rush.
Yeah, pretty much.
Now, I'm still waiting. Who did good?
The only person that I know in my feeling that did good was Harrison.
All right.
But the rest of them, like I said, there are a lot of things these guys, they left Pittsburgh, I guess, trying to vie for more money or whatever it was.
For fortune and fame.
Yeah. And not finding too much of either.
Well, they're getting fame.
Yeah. Not the way they want.
They're not building up their what's the word I'm looking for here?
Money banks.
Nope, they're not. Yeah. All right. So, with that said and done,
let's preview the upcoming Browns game in Cleveland. It's going to be huge. One thing we have to realize, you Steeler fans know that Pittsburgh can be 15-0, 15-1, whatever the record is. They'll go down to Cleveland and have a dogfight, no matter what it is.
Yeah. Not a physical dogfight like with the Ravens. It's just that they're running around bumping into each other. Not just saying the Steelers, the Browns as well. And it's like nobody wants to win this game. They all want to give to the other team. And folks, if you remember almost a year ago when the last time we played the Browns, boy, that was oof.
Yeah.
That was a tough one.
8 turnovers. That was so hard to watch. They had 8 turnovers and still had chances to win this game.
Still 20-14, I believe the final score was. And I believe Charlie Batch threw a late interception.
Right.
We were rallying to come down to at least tie it, and then an extra point will take the lead. But that's when we had the merry-go-round of running backs. Who could hold on to the ball, who couldn't. And that it was ugly. But you know what, folks? Like Big Tiz alluded to, when we play, not to make fun of the guys, because that's not what we're here about, because we're so evenly matched.
Right.
And we look at the rankings now. The Steelers are ranked 11th in the pass compared to the Browns, who are ranked 16th. Now, here's where it gets pretty sticky. Now, the Steelers are ranked 27th in the league in rushing, and the Browns are ranked 26th. Now, we average 80.6 yards per rushing in a game, which is horrible, but the Browns are 81.6. So you can see how close in comparison we are. And like we said before, not only were there a ton of turnovers, there were a ton of penalties.
Right.
And it seemed like a battle of the turnovers, battle of the penalties. Which team wanted more penalties? I think we came out on top that. No, actually, I think we both had. If I have to go back and check the record, I believe we both had 9 penalties. The Browns and the Steelers had 9 penalties that game. And and that's when we only rushed for 49 yards. Now, we're not talking the Browns, the prolific run defense stopper guys. They did not have that great defense to stop the run. It was just that time in, a bad time in the past that we don't want to remember, that we just couldn't do anything with the ball. We could fumble it.
Right.
We could throw it away. But as far as any kind of offense, it was non-existent. And to score 2 touchdowns off of that, it's I don't want to say remarkable, but it shows the stature of this team. We could play the worst that we can play, but we still can put up points and still be in the game.
Well, that's one thing, and the Steelers have to be very wary because these Cleveland Browns, everybody looks at them as if they're the lonely Browns, this and that. But the Browns, their defense is not that bad.
Oh, they're young, they're energetic.
Exactly.
And they still have a lot to learn.
And actually, the game against Cincinnati, this past Sunday, they got blown out later in the game. But I believe that was the offense of the Cleveland Browns, not really putting the defense in good positions, but the defense even scored a touchdown in that game.
Right.
Special
teams was huge in Cincinnati.
Right.
Blocked punt, pick six or fumble six or whatever you want to call it. And, we're very well aware of how it is to play catch up, especially to a division rival or any team for that matter. Just playing catch up is not what you want to do. You want to get out there, you want to maintain the lead, and you control the clock, keep the offense off, and that way you could win games and you can make less mistakes by doing that.
Well, some of the keys for the Steelers in this game against the Cleveland Browns is the fact that the Steelers have to keep a methodical approach to this game. They have to keep it well balanced, like we said before. If they rush, which I'm pretty sure they're going to try to make Ben beat them, so just like everyone else, if they're going to cut off the run game, the Steelers have to be able to open up those passing lanes to the short passes, which they just did in the Detroit game, which was huge.
Right.
Get the ball out of Ben's hand very quick, swing passes, short yardage passes. We have the tools to beat these guys, but the Steelers have to stay focused with it. And if the defense can play on a level they did in that second half against Detroit, this game should be a wash.
Yeah, I believe that, the offense has got to stick to a game plan that works. And obviously, folks, I'm going to say it again. And, I didn't prove myself, but my theory is somewhat correct. By doing the no-huddle offense, and then you get the play action, it seems that every time we do play action down deep in the red zone, when we do it, we score a touchdown. The touchdown to the late touchdown we scored to it boggles the mind. When something works, why not stick to it?
Yeah, I agree. And that's one of the Steelers' main problems. But like I said, if the Steelers can control the Cleveland Browns run game and try to force their quarterback to be the one to beat them, I believe the Steelers can take control of this game, and they can take control of it early.
I believe they can. Trent Richardson is not in the Browns uniform anymore.
No.
And they really don't have that good of a rushing attack. The quarterback is Campbell. He's weak. I believe he threw 3 interceptions against Cincinnati.
Right.
This is kind of stuff that we need to go in there and we need to take advantage of.
Right. The same approach, like I said, against Detroit, but there's got to be heavy pressure on Campbell. You got to make him erratic, and he's easy to get that way.
Oh, absolutely.
So, like I said, the Steelers have to continually be able to cover guys, because I'm pretty sure Steelers gonna start blitzing early because they want to make sure they rattle this guy.
That's true. And same thing, getting back to the Raiders game, we went to the same theory. Just rattle, young quarterback, make mistakes. We didn't do that. We end up losing.
Right.
I know it's the Raiders. They're 4-6, just as we are.
Right.
It's not like they're some superior team to us. It's not true. Even if they had a winning record, nobody's superior to the Pittsburgh Steelers. We just have to play up to our potential. And once we do that, we will be the superior team. And you know what? This Cleveland game against Pittsburgh this Sunday is a 5-star matchup, Big Tiz. Why is that? Because we're in it.
That's what I like, baby.
And you can put a stamp on that.
So Big O, what do you see as a final score for this game with Pittsburgh going down to Cleveland?
Here's with all the key to the victories. If it doesn't have to go exactly as planned, but here's what I'm predicting. Halftime, Cleveland's going to be winning this game 7-3 because it's going to be a dogfight in the trenches for the first half. And then Pittsburgh is going to open up in the second half. I believe final score is going to be Pittsburgh 27, Cleveland 13.
Sounds like a good one. I'm going to say even a little bit closer than that. I'm thinking Pittsburgh 23, Cleveland 10. And like I said, and I believe Cleveland to get that touchdown that they have later in the game, to try to rally the troops or whatever and then try to go from there. But I think Pittsburgh will take control of this game. If that defense can play on the same level they played in the second half of the Detroit game and the second half of the game against the Oakland Raiders, when the Oakland Raiders had all these yards and the defense put the kibosh on everything in the second half. They just have to play that total 60-minute game, and the Steelers will come out this game victorious. Put a stamp on it.
Wow.
And like I said, you put the stamp on it, that lets you know that the Steelers will win this game, and they're going to win it big.
All right, Big Tiz, before we go into our final thoughts, let's get back to what we talked about earlier in the show. What do you believe was the game changer? What play we'll let you go first, what you feel was the game changer? It changed momentum for the better of the Steelers.
Well, in that game, what was the play of the game or the game changer in this game? I'm picking Cotry's touchdown to extend the lead to 37-27. And only because Cotry's touchdown actually put the game out of reach to where even if they did score, all the Steelers would have had to do was kind of like defend or catch the short kick, which they would have probably tried later on anyway.
Kick, yeah.
Right. But the thing about it is that put it far enough out of reach to where it was some breathing room finally. Because we played that whole second half at either down by 3 or ahead by 3. 3 or 4 points. And that was a big difference. That put us out far enough where we had some breathing room, and the Steelers can really unleash the defense on the quarterback. So,
all right, Big Tiz, that's great. Not saying that you're wrong and I'm right. We all have I believe was when Pittsburgh went for the 4th down, and instead of electing to go for a 49-yard field goal to try and get that first down. And why is this huge? Because Pittsburgh, I believe, we were only up a touchdown at this point.
Right.
So now if we miss a field goal, okay, they have great field position and they can march down. Now you do not. Now that's a big momentum changer. We miss a field goal or we don't get the first down. Now you're giving all your energy to the other team saying, hey, they give us another shot, we can do this. And because we got that first down, we ended up scoring another touchdown after that.
Right.
So because of that, going for it, gutsy call, and like we talked about earlier, Big Tiz, when you have these gutsy challenges, you make it, you're the genius. You don't make it, you're a goat.
Exactly.
You know what? For Tomlin to go for this, I have to commend him. And even if they didn't make it, I would still hold nothing against him, because this is why he leads the team. This is why you have a coach that has faith in the offense.
Right.
And we were pretty good on the offense during the whole game, but to have faith for being a quarterback or anybody on offense and have your coach saying, get out there and let's get this first down, as crucial as that was at the point of the game, that is such a big confidence booster.
Yeah.
That, wow, my coach really believes in me, so you know what? I better believe in myself as well, and let's get this first down. They don't make it, you know what? At least you tried.
Exactly.
At least you tried. Unlike the Buffalo Bills game, when they drove down after the interception, they were 4th and 4 at the goal line. They didn't choose to go for it.
That's true. That's true.
So, yeah. So what are you going to do? So that's okay, who do you think gets the game ball? Your decision, Big Tiz.
I think Antonio Brown should get the game ball. This guy had 7 catches for 147 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he was always there when the Steelers needed that big play. 3rd and long, backed up against our own goal line.
That was a huge play.
Antonio Brown picks up the first down.
You know what? We left that play out. Folks, if you want to throw in that play, if that's what you decide, let us know on Facebook, email us. I left that out, but you're right. You allude to a great point. If 3rd and 9, deep in our own territory, he doesn't make. Now, it wasn't an easy catch. It wasn't like a wide open. This was an acrobatic catch. And I do believe that Ben threw in a double coverage or triple coverage, and he came down with this ball, and he was hit. He paid the price for that one. Without that first down, that drive stalls, and we don't get a chance to go for 4th down.
Right.
So that's a huge play as well. I'm glad you brought that up, Big Tiz. Yeah. Put a stamp on that. So you're saying that Brown, and to add to what you have to say, it is great. Like we alluded to earlier, that it wasn't just a catch and a touchdown; it was the yards after the catch. Something that the Steelers have been lacking greatly in this season. And you know what? That's a good choice, Big Tiz. But I'm going to have to disagree with you, and I'm going to have to say the O-line gets the ball. Why? I'll tell you. What our record shows, a 4-6 record does not show that you have a great O-line, and we struggled the whole season. And we had our ups, more downs than ups. But you know what? To protect Ben, sacked once, and for Ben to throw almost 400 yards and 4 TDs, and his uniform is pretty much clean. I mean, I gotta give to the O-line for the pass protection, and because without Ben being able to throw the ball, I don't think Brown gets those balls.
I agree. And like you said, Detroit have some formidable pass rushers.
Oh,
you know,
they do. The defensive
Sue
line and the cornerbacks.
Farley. I mean, they have great pass rushers.
And I believe that the Detroit defensive line makes the cornerbacks and the safety look good because they're forcing opposing quarterbacks to throw into bad situations, double coverage, off routes, or whatnot. So cornerbacks and safeties for the Detroit Lions, you better thank that defensive line, take them out and get a mistake there or something. Bring your checkbooks, though.
There you go. There you have it. Check us out. Now, we're going to go to our final thoughts, but right now we're going to go to commercial, and we'll be back and give you everything we got and what we both think is going to be the final for the Steelers here on Steeler Nation Live.
That's right, Big Tiz. Pay the bills.
Four-of-a-kind consignment and resale, Jeromesville, Ohio. Everyone knows everybody. Everyone calls your friend. You don't need an invitation. Just kick off your shoes and come on in. At Four-of-a-kind consignment and resale, they have antiques, vintage items, electric items, clothing, and housewares. Four-of-a-kind consignment and resale is a 4-generation family-owned establishment that also has Muffler and More, Spade Web Design and Publishing, and Spade Enterprises, a business that loves and cares about the community. Even though they are in Ohio, Four-of-a-kind Consignment and Resale has a ton of Steeler items for sale now and even more during the season. They're closed on Mondays, but they're open Tuesdays through Sundays. Call Heidi. Her phone number is 567-203-7858. That's Heidi at 567-203-7858. Or look for her on the web at spadeinc.com/4oak.html. They ship everywhere.
Hey, sports fans and Steeler Nation, I'm Big O from Steeler Nation Live, and here's your future weather forecast for this upcoming game Sunday, November 24th in Cleveland, First Energy Stadium. What is that all about? Well, anyways, folks, the high temperature is going to be 34 degrees. I said 34 degrees is going to be high. 1 o'clock game doesn't mean anything. The low is going to be 30. Chance of snow, 30%. Yes, folks, I said snow. The S word. N-O-W, snow. Bring your stuff, be ready. But you know what? Pittsburgh's going to heat it up like they did last week against the Detroit Lions. What a great win. And you know what? Pittsburgh's going to do another one this week in Cleveland. I'm Big O, Steeler Nation Live, for your future weather forecast. Welcome back to Steeler Nation Live. I'm Big O.
I'm Big Tiz.
And this is a part of the show where we give you our final thoughts. Big Tiz usually goes first, and he will go first again. Big Tiz, let it rip.
All right. Hey, guys, you know what? The reason we dubbed this show, put a stamp on it was because the Steelers now, they have to put a stamp on it. And when I say they got to put a stamp on it, they got to know that this game today, or this game, against the Cleveland Browns coming up Sunday, is a game that they got to make their mark, and they got to make their mark to become that 5-6. Because that 5-6 is actually very important. That 5-6 can solidify them in that second ranking, or that 5-6, 4 and possibly 7 can put them down even further and realistically out of the playoffs. So the Steelers have to make that mark and show that this game against Detroit wasn't a fluke. That's why I said they got to put that mark on. They got to put this stamp on and let everyone know that they're for real. And when I say for real, the Steelers got to go out and put a punishing game to them. Put a punishing game on the Cleveland Browns. Let them know that that game last week was not a fluke. The offense is going to be clicking on all cylinders, and the defense is going to be clicking on all cylinders. And it has to be for 60 minutes. If it's for 60 minutes, the Steelers will win this game and will have no problem putting a big whipping on the Cleveland Browns. So the Steelers have to play 60 minutes of football. If they do that, the Steelers will be victorious. This game will be over early, and we all can have a restful Sunday before Thanksgiving Day, which is going to be another big game in Baltimore.
That's right, Big Tiz. And I don't want to, repeat what you just said, but it's absolutely important. Every game from here on out is very important. Whether you're playing the Browns, where you're playing the Dolphins, where you're playing the Cowboys. It doesn't matter what caliber team you're playing. It doesn't matter. What matters is the caliber team that we put on the field.
Exactly.
So it's just the offense needs to show up. The defense needs to show up. It's simple as that. And we've proven throughout the whole season what works, what doesn't work, why we win, why we lose. We just have to get together, put our heads together, put the coaching staff together, and say, hey, look, it's not rocket science. This is what we're doing to move the ball. Here's what we're doing not to move the ball. Here's what's going on defense. Here's how we're getting burned. Here's how we're making up for it. We have to put this together. And we cannot worry. We cannot focus on who we are playing. Regardless of past history with what team we play, it doesn't matter. You have to focus on the game in hand. Because you could have been a great team last year, a crappy team this year. You don't know who's going to show up. You have to show up. We have to show up. And if we continually do that, I see no problem with winning another Super Bowl trophy. It's going to be hard. I'm not saying it's easy. Okay? It's not going to be easy. It can be done, though. And we've proven it. We've proven it. Going for 0 for what, and now we're 4-6. And now we have a chance to get at least 500 because we can beat the Browns and we can beat the Ravens. We already proved that this year when we beat the Ravens at home. Just because we have to go away to Baltimore doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean that we're less of an opponent, less of a team because we're playing away. Let's beat them in their house. Prove to them that we are the elite Pittsburgh Steelers. Not of old. I don't want to compare because the past is the past. We had great teams in the past. This is the Steelers of today. We have to own it. Our record is 4-6. We have to own it. We have to have that ale. And I'm going to talk about that for the rest of the year. We have to be accountable. Once we're accountable of what we're doing, then the leadership falls in. And then when you have leadership, then you have the execution. Once you have those three things, you have a Super Bowl team. And like I said earlier, it doesn't matter what team we play. We show up to the field. We have to play our game, no matter who it's against. And once we play our game, we've proven that we can win and win big. We have to do that. I'm Big O.
I'm Big Tiz. Hey guys, you know what? Another show in the books here on Still Nation Live. I want to get you guys to also remember to check us out on Facebook. Also, to go to the website, check us out at www.stillnationlive.net. There you'll see Big O, Big Tiz, and who else? Rude Dog Reyes. You can see our bios and things like that, and different things. A lot of things going on the site, so you guys got to check it out.
Don't forget, Big Tiz, TalkShoe.com, the radio version of the show, where you can sit back and if you don't want to look at our handsome faces, Tiz's beautiful face, well, you can listen to us on radio at TalkShoe.com. Just go to the website, search Steeler Nation. You'll see the icon with the Steeler towel waving. You click onto that, and folks, you sign up to TalkShoe.com, get your name out there. You can review the show, and you can tell us how great it is or how bad it is. What we can do to improve our show, but I don't think that's going to happen because anybody who listens to your show, you're going to love us.
So there you have it from Big Tiz
and Big O.
Hey, the show is over tonight. Put a stamp on it. Still a Nation Live. We'll see you next week.
Big O, Still a Nation. Big Tiz, Big O, Big Tiz, Big O. Still a Nation, man. Yeah, Mr. Stump. Big O. Yeah, I had to say it was a stump, man. Because it is a stump, man. Yeah, Big O. Big Tiz. Big O. Big Tiz. Big O. Yeah. The name of the future. And we're the name of the future. We're the name of the future. And we're the name of the future. Hey. Yeah. Shout out to Big Tiz, man. And Big O. It's Still a Nation, man. Yeah. Big Tiz. Big O. You know what it is, man. Still a Nation, man. Big O. Big Tiz. Big O. Every night on Monday night, man. 7 to 8 on Monday night. Big O. Big Tiz. And it's a stump. And this is Still a Nation. Big Tiz. Big O. It's Big Tiz. Big O.